Talk about blink and you'll miss it. Just like that, the grand final is over. The World Cup is over. We're all crying because there's no footy on. We are back. We are back doing another tipping video. It feels like I just did my grand final preview. Will Penrith and the Eels make it that far again? Only time will tell. But for now, let's just focus on round one of the 2023 NRL season. It is the return of Paddy G tipping videos. Now, we only did the back half of the last season. I hope you guys have faith in me that I can try and get through the entire season this time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do go on to enjoy the video, not just agree or disagree with my tips, if you go on to enjoy the video, please smash that like button, drop a comment down below. Did you agree? What are your tips for round one of the 2023 NRL season? And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are on the way to 5,000 subscribers, so help be a part of the journey. This is going to be an insane year for my channel, an insane year for rugby league. It's so unpredictable, so let's get straight into round one. And round one, the opening match at CommBank Stadium in Parramatta in the Golden West, the Eels hosting the Melbourne Storm. An interesting one. The Parramatta Eels have an insane winning streak over the Melbourne Storm, the likes of even that Raiders side couldn't get, and the Melbourne Storm have never lost round one under Craig Bellamy. Some changes for both sides. Obviously, Parramatta, they've lost a few players. The Melbourne Storm, they're missing a bunch of key players as well. Mainly the Bromwich boys and Felice Kafusi, so their veteran forward pack has been swapped with pretty much a brand new one. Some injuries there as well. We're not going to see the new signings likes of Tarek Sims. Their backline's still a bit weak. That's where Parramatta have the advantage, but I think this game is as simple as it coming down to those halves, to those spines. Now, with Pappenhausen set to miss at least a little while to start this season, it wouldn't surprise me if they do the Munster to fullback and Manny to sixth thing the Melbourne Storm. Despite losing in week one, it's what dragged them to a fifth place finish after it looked like the wheels had fallen off there at the back end of last season for the Storm. So I think they'll see that. I think we'll see Munster move to fullback, Meaney moves into the halves. Hopefully Meaney with another preseason can improve even more. He didn't really burst onto the scene like we see with other young Melbourne Storm players, or at least players when they go to the Storm. It'll be interesting to see how Josh Hodgson goes for the Eels, and that is why I'm picking the Storm. Josh Hodgson really hasn't impressed me in the trials, and that's not writing him off just yet, but I just think it's going to take some time. Josh Hodgson loves to work his way to dummy half. He's a very different dummy half to Reed Money. Reed Money is all about giving quality service, creating time for Moses and Brown, while Josh Hodgson, he likes to get out there and he loves to run around a little bit. So I think that may just take a bit of time, and coming up against the Storm round one, they're going to want to make a statement. Craig Bellamy all but confirmed on NRL 360 it's going to be his final year at the club, and I think they're not going to let that round one record come to an end anytime soon. I see not many points in this game. In saying that, I just think the Melbourne side have a few more points in them with Grant, Hughes and Munster compared to an all-new look Eels spine. So I'm taking Storm, not by much, and I'm taking the unders as well. Moving on to our first Friday doubleheader of 2023, the Warriors hosting the Newcastle Knights in the little brother nation of Wellington, not Auckland. So there you go. This game is a pretty hard one to pick in my opinion. I'm going with the Warriors just because they're at home, but there is so much pressure on the Newcastle Knights to get a fast start, and they've got the draw to do so to try and save Adam O'Brien's job because he is under immense pressure. When I compare the two sides on paper, I'd probably give a leading edge to the Newcastle Knights just because they're more established. I still don't like KP at 6. I've been pretty adamant about that, and the Newcastle Knights were very, very poor in their two trials, which I still don't think they mean much. But when half your first grade side gets dismantled by the Newtown Jets, then I think there's a little bit of a cause for concern. I still don't know for the Warriors if Sean Johnson is the right man, but I think the Warriors can get the job done at home in front of the New Zealand faithful, because I just think they're going to be too hard to beat at home in New Zealand when they haven't been able to play a full season there for quite some time. Moving on to the Friday night main event, the cracks have been shown in the Penrith Panther armour, and if there's ever a good time to play them, it's at this time of year. The Brisbane Broncos probably will think that they have a chance to get the W in this game. No Api Coruscant and no Viliami Kikau. There is a chance. You got to get them now before they have time to gel. In saying that, these Penrith Panthers, we all know they're the type of bastards who are still going to be angry from that World Club Challenge loss. And I'm sorry, Broncos fans, but I've got a feeling they're going to take it out on you. The Broncos, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. They had a similar end of season to Manly because they lost all those games at the back end. They fell out of the top 4. What does that do to them mentally? Reece Walsh is a big out, even though he's probably only had one preseason with them. But it'll be a good test for the Broncos. I'm quite excited for this match because I still think that there's any time you want to play Penrith, it's at this time of the year. In saying that, Brisbane, I think they can still close for the first maybe 50 or 60, but I still think Penrith get the job done. I still think the Panthers win 13 plus. They try to remind everyone after they bottled that World Club Challenge. So I'm taking Penrith Panthers 13 plus, and don't be surprised if we see a lot of ball go down that right-hand side. The left side's had a huge shuffle. Not only have they lost Taylor May now, they've also obviously lost Kickout. So that's 2 new players that are going onto that left side or that right side. They've still got Cleary, they've still got Martin, they've still got Crichton. And maybe they'll flip Toto back to the left, but either way, I think Stephen Crichton crashes over and Penrith Panthers get a cheeky 13 plus victory. Now, I am a Manly fan, but I still think many of us would agree that this is one of the more intriguing matches of the round. The Manly Seagulls host the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at 3 p.m. at the glorious Brookie Oval, 4 Pines Park. This match is going to be an interesting one. Both have new coaches. The Bulldogs have done their rebuild. Kick out. Looks like he's going to make his debut. However, don't be surprised if they rule him out late. Reid Marnie is definitely going to be there. Matty Burton has been given the captaincy. Whereas for Manly, they bring back the best player in the game. They bring back the hottest man in rugby league, and they bring back Jakey Trbojevic, all coming back from injury. Cooper Johns, the MVP of the preseason tournament, gets the number 6 jersey. It'll be interesting to see how him and DCE play. And obviously, if you're new around here, then Manly's my team, and I'm a big believer. If you don't tip your team, you're not a real fan. So obviously, I'm tipping Manly. And I am quite confident we get the job done here. I know we're allergic to winning round 1, but I just think the Bulldogs, they don't have him in my 8 yet, and I think it's going to take a bit of time. I think they're going to go on a big roll on during Origin period and towards the back end of this season. I think that Manly, the way they've been saying it, the way the club's set up, they're going to be full of confidence after the preseason challenge. Seabold seems to have gotten the playing group on his side, and I think they're going to come out, and I think they're not going to get the job done 13 plus. I think they'll win around by 10 to 12. I also think Cooler and Tui Piloto's first game with Tommy T, I've got Cooler. I feel like Tommy can just completely unleash him. So he's my smoky for an anytime try scorer. I've got Manly beating the Bulldogs in round 1. The Cowboys hosting the Canberra Raiders. Completely opposites. The coloured boys have to travel up north, the North Queensland Cowboys. I don't know what they're doing to PVL because they get the luck of the draw once again. But this time, look, I'm not so sure they're going to be able to smash the Canberra Raiders. The Raiders were very, in fact, the most disappointing side in the preseason challenge. While the Cowboys were a bit disappointing too, look, they're one of those teams where it's just preseason. There's nothing to be concerned about. I think the Cowboys get the job done here. They're one of the teams that has the luxury of not having many changes. They've only lost Tommy Gilbert and Luciano Leilua for a little bit, and they've lost the Hammer as well, who was only coming off the bench. So I've got the Cowboys winning, not by big. I think it'll be a bit closer than the odds are suggesting, but I still think the Cowboys kick off their 2023 season with a cheeky W. Now this one, the Sharks and the Rabbitohs, a blockbuster. Sharkies looking for revenge on the team that knocked him straight sets out of the finals last year. And I would be tipping the Sharkies because they're at home if Nico Hines is playing, but no hot boy Nico. I'm tipping the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs are notorious slow starters, and we saw the Sharks outside that round 1 loss to the Raiders pretty much kick into gear straight away last season. So I think the Sharks will be up for this one. But I just think the Rabbitohs will have too much class. And maybe the Rabbitohs, the slow starts, well, they've led to successful seasons, haven't led to a premiership yet. So maybe they get on the front foot early. I think they'll try and lock in a top 4 spot. I think they've got them finishing second. So I think they're going to start fast. And I think the South Sydney Rabbitohs get the W in this Saturday night main event. And now, the match, maybe not the best on paper, certainly not in that case actually, but the match I am most looking forward to. It's the debut of the Fish, and they take on the team that's been here since 1908, the Arthur Beetson Cup. It's going to be a sold-out Suncorp Stadium. It's going to be a hell of an occasion. The Dolphins versus the Roosters. The Dolphins are paying $6, so no one's very high on them in 2023. But, hear me out, and I'm going to sound crazy, I'm tipping the Dolphins. That is not to say I think the Dolphins are going to have a terrific season and the Roosters are going to be bad. It's the complete opposite. I've got the Dolphins 16th and I've got the Roosters coming second, losing in the grand final. I just know that the Roosters love starting slow. They've added another superstar to this team when they couldn't figure it out for most of last year. I know they'll be disappointed in the way they finished last year, but look, I just got a feeling the Dolphins, NRL franchises, they don't lose their first games. They're going to be at a packed out Suncorp. And not to imply anything, but I think the NRL look after them. So, I know the Roosters love losing round one. I think it's going to take a bit more time for them to get gelled. And I think Wayne Bennett can get these Dolphins up. He's the secret key. He did it in the 2020 Origin Series. And I feel like he can do it this Sunday. I'm tipping the Dolphins to get the win over the Sydney Roosters. If it happens, then I want my genius messages. If it doesn't, I'll gladly put my hands up because I genuinely believe this. I'm not just saying it for a joke. The Dolphins will beat the Sydney Roosters on Sunday afternoon. And the final game, the rematch from last year's worst game, the Tigers hosting the Titans. Both teams with a lot to prove. I feel like there's going to be plenty of points in this one. I know it's a Sunday 6 p.m, but daylight savings, technically like 4 p.m. So a lot of footy is going to be thrown around. I feel like there's a bit of hype now around both teams, certainly from their fan bases. There's a lot of optimism. The Titans looked absolutely fantastic in their second trial game, and the Tigers did as well. I'm tipping the West Tigers purely on the fact that they are at home, and I feel like if anyone's going to know the importance of playing at home, it's Sheensy, it's Benji, it's Robbie. They'll get them up for this game, whereas I'm not sold on Holbrook. I think there's a bit of pressure around him. I don't think the players are at the point where they're just waiting for Holbrook to go, but there's certainly pressure on him. This is like the Warriors Knights. Flip a coin and I'm going with the home side. I'm playing it safe, which round one suggests. Maybe I should be doing the opposite. But I'm tipping the West Tigers. Just hopefully this game is better than that Thursday night one from last year. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Round one tips. They are in the books. If in case you missed it, which I don't know how to if you got into this point in the video, I'm taking Melbourne over the Eels, I'm taking Warriors over Newcastle, Penrith over Brisbane, Manly over the Bulldogs, North Queensland over Canberra, the Rabbits over the Sharks, the Dolphins over the Roosters, and I'm taking the West Tigers over the Gold Coast Titans to finish off this 2023 round one. Not the season. We're a long way from that. But ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy the video, smash the hell out of that like button. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your tips for round one and which team do you think is a certainty to pick up the 2 points this weekend. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, guys. And of course, I'll see you in the next one.